beaten, bloody, drunk under a bridge at 4 a.m., phone stolen, wallet gone. And when he told people the story later, they laughed. That's Joel Monteleone's dating coach, founder of Hot Takes, Hot Dates, and the guy who turned the worst night of his life into a business built on authentic connection. But here's the thing. He wasn't laughing. This is Hot Mess Magic, and today's conversation, it's about the moment you realize your entire life has become a performance. And you're not even enjoying the show anymore. Joel spent 15 years living the same story on repeat. Charismatic, fun, the life of the party. And completely fucking lost. That bridge beating, that was the universe saying, "You done yet?" Because what Joel built from the rock bottom isn't just a dating company. It's proof that your mess can become your mission. I'm Michelle Burke, and let's get into it. So welcome, Joel.
Hi, Michelle. That was so fun. I loved hearing that. Thank you for creating that.
You're welcome. So let's start where it broke open. Hey, you were beaten up under a bridge in Austin at 4 o'clock in the morning. You were drunk, your phone was stolen, your wallet was stolen as well. And you go and you tell this story to your friends, and they laugh because you're this charismatic guy. But as you're telling them this story, you weren't laughing. You were serious. What were you actually feeling in that moment? And when did you realize this wasn't just a bad night? It was kind of a reckoning.
I was beat up under a bridge and I had my phone stolen and I was by myself. I was with like probably 20 people that night, and they all ended up going home around midnight, and they invited me to go home with them. And I just said, no, I'm staying out. I was really good at partying, meeting people. I was charismatic. I still am charismatic, but I'm just like, I was good at having a good time. I didn't want to go home. Around 3-4 o'clock in the morning, I was walking home across Austin. I got attacked under a bridge by a homeless person, and I wasn't really sure what was going on. And they punched me, and then they chased me, and I ended up having my phone stolen. The next day, I ended up going on a river float. I dusted off my shoulders, my bruises, and I said, let's go back and party again. I went on a river float, and that's where I lost my wallet. So it was 2 separate occasions when I was telling the story to my friends that night. And I'm a charismatic person. I grew up performing. I perform now with Hot Takes, Hot Dates. I'm not used to having a microphone. And as I was telling this story, my whole friend group were just like laughing and like really enjoying the entertainment. And it hit me in that moment. And I said to them, I go, this isn't really that funny. Like I was like really scared and alone. And I felt, like it was, I don't know why you're laughing. And they kind of all just respond like, oh, Joel, we know. Like it was scary, but you just tell such good stories. You're so funny. And it was that moment where I kind of just realized that I'm like a jester. I was a clown, that people didn't take me seriously, that I was kind of just my existence was there for others' entertainment. And I realized as I was about to turn 30 that my priorities were about the same as I had when I was turning 20. It was like, how much can I party? How many people can I meet? How many women can I sleep with? How much money can I make? And that was pretty much the same thing I cared about when I was 19. And I made a pretty powerful decision in that moment. I said, when I turn 40, when I'm 39, my priorities are going to look a lot different than they do right now at 29. That was when I really decided to make massive shifts in my life. I started to work out and wake up early in the morning so that I wouldn't stay up late at night partying. And slowly over the course of the year led to insane transformation that eventually led me to where I am now with my own business and an abundance of friends and community and 3 years sober.
You realized that your priorities were out of whack.
Yeah. I didn't even I realized that they were they weren't even out of whack. I just realized how out of alignment of what I wanted my life to look like and what my life currently did. Like, I think from a place of societal, like, norms, people would see my life and be like, oh, this guy's doing what he's doing, right? He has a good job. Has a lot of friends. But I knew that I wanted my life to look exceptional and like very different than the norm, and realize how far away I was from that with what I was prioritizing at the time.
Yeah, because you've said as to how your life was a big joke, not
Mm-hmm.
not your night, like your entire life. Like that's a gut punch. Like that's self-awareness at its highest level.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're the charismatic guy who tells great stories, how long can you hide behind the humor before you realize you've become a character in your own life instead of the author?
Yeah, I mean, it made it a lot easier when I was just drinking all the time. It like going out to the
Alcohol normally does.
yeah. That's where I got a lot of my value with my friends, was when I would go out drinking, because like I said, I was really good at it. I could drink a lot. You never had to worry about me. I knew all the places to go, all the people to see. I brought tons of people along. And so I didn't really realize it until I had that massive wake up call. There've been so many wake up calls that happened prior to that one, and that I just didn't listen to, right? And eventually I got to that point where I just thought to myself, this isn't cute anymore. Like this, I'm like almost 30. Like if I were telling this story at 22, like that's okay, that's cute, it's fine, it was. But I'm like, I'm almost 30. I'm like, my dad had 2 kids at this point in his life, and like, what am I? I'm getting beat up under a bridge. Like, that's not the life that I, you know, saw myself living. And so it was a huge wake up call, and I just wasn't willing to continue to find out what the next thing was going to be, the next breakdown that was going to be generated through partying and alcohol.
So you took those steps to get real raw and honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Men don't talk about moments like this, being vulnerable, being the victim, being at rock bottom. Because there's so much shame wired into masculine identity around admitting when you're lost, hurt, needing a change, feeling out of sorts. What did it cost you to stop performing strength and start being honest with yourself and those around you about the mess, about the life that you had created?
Yeah, I mean, it cost me a lot of friendships, that's for sure, because for 15 years, a lot of people in my life saw me one way. And as I started to shift that identity from being an expert partier, I used to say, like, proudly wear a badge, I am an expert partier. Malcolm Gladwell says, if you do anything for 10,000 hours, you're an expert at it. And I would say, I am an expert partier. There's no way I'm not. Right. And so stepping out of that, like, a lot of my friendships had to look a lot different, because it was quite a shift in the way that they experienced me. And like, I was essentially killing off their friend that they knew and that they saw in order to step into this new version. And so it was like, for about 18 months, I tried my best to kind of balance that old identity with the new identity and try and make them both work, and try and like have my toes in each pool. And at a certain point, it was just taking too much energy. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing either of these very well. And it's time to say, it's like, to take the full leap into this next step. And the people that are meant to be there, the people that want to stick around, they'll stick around. And if they're not, then, that's feedback for me and feedback for the relationship. But it was like a lot of relationships that I got to let go of, or like kind of create a new one. And then letting go of an identity of all that I knew. I didn't know how to not drink or party, or like what people did. I always thought to myself that everyone drank on a Friday night. I'd go out in Austin and I'd think, there's no way that there's anyone in Austin that's my age that's not here at this bar. And then when I started to stop drinking and I started to like meet new people and like start to have new hobbies and new interests, I played volleyball on Friday nights until about 11 p.m. And I'm like, oh my God, there's people just playing volleyball on a Friday night. Like that's crazy to me. And so it was amazing to start to see these new opportunities. And it just took a little bit of reinvention and a lot of endurance to be willing to say goodbye to new people in order to let new people into my life.
Yeah, because you have this realization as to like, wait a second, there is more to do on a Friday night than sit in a bar or be at a party. And yeah, it is that. And then you reach that point where you don't even want to go to that bar or to that party anymore. You're like, wait, can we go do this instead?
Totally. It became a waste of energy. And I like, as I started to build more things in my life, new relationships, new hobbies, new skills, new businesses, as I started to like experience that abundance, like just from a time and energy perspective, like going to bars just didn't really make sense anymore. I'm like, I can't go to a bar until 2 a.m. on a Friday night if I have to be up on Saturday in order to do the things that I want to do. And so it naturally started to weed itself out, but it did take about 18 months to do that.
Yeah, but when it's been your life for 19 years, or been your life for 19 years, it's gonna take time to shift that identity. Like the things don't happen overnight. So let's dive into like that shifting of that identity and it what it built, what it created, because you took that rock bottom and built Hot Takes, Hot Dates, Austin's fastest growing dating experience. But what I want to know is, were you creating from the wound or from your wholeness? Because there's a difference between I got my shit together, let me teach you, and I'm still figuring this out, let's do it together. So where were you when this idea came to you and you started?
Yeah. So when I first started to step into entrepreneurship after I got attacked, I had a couple different businesses that I was exploring. I made bolo ties. I coached people in burnout and emotional intelligence. I hosted networking events. And so like there were different iterations of what my business looked like. But what I knew for sure was what I cared about and what I thought was the most important aspect was authenticity, vulnerability, and connection. And so Hot Takes, Hot Dates essentially was born from me having one of my networking events. It's all based around play and it's all based around fun. And I think that we are our most enrolling, most magnetic, most attractive selves when we're in a state of play. And I was at my networking event and I saw some people like kind of hitting it off, vibing from like a very energetic, like positive energy. And I thought, what would it look like if this were turned into a dating event? And so that was my intention, was to just create spaces where people could connect in a way that fostered authenticity and vulnerability. Because there's just so much pressure today, especially in dating, when it comes to finding the right person, being the best version of yourself. And for me, Hot Takes, Hot Dates is kind of just like a wild comedy show dating experience that takes all of the needing to be perfect, needing to like put up a mask, throws it out the window and says, hey, be yourself, have a really good time. And I guarantee you the people that are going to be into you will be into you. And that's it. And so like going back to the question, I think one of my superpowers is being authentic, but for a long time I was not authentic. I hid a lot of my personality and a lot of my fears just by drinking and kind of masking that need to be myself. I just thought, okay, I'm just going to drink because I don't feel authentic, but if I just get drunk, then I don't need to feel anything. And I think that's a lot of the way that people are connecting today, is just like through a place of inauthenticity, not being vulnerable, not truly saying what they think or what they want to say or what they feel. And it's just creating a lot of disconnect, and it's ruining a lot of potential beautiful relationships. And so yeah, that's kind of where hot takes, hot dates came from. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but
Well, yeah, no, it did, because you took your gift. You took this gift of authenticity, of connection, and you saw something, but you were this party guy. So you're also like, wait a second, how can I make this fun?
life just gets to be easy, life gets to be fun, dating gets to be fun. Like that is when we are our most like attractive selves, you know, in a state of
Yeah.
play. No one wants to go to a date and it's just like an interview. It's boring. You can tell that they're like hiding something, or they're filtering out the things that they want to say. They're
Mhm.
only saying the things that you think you want to hear. They want to be perceived in a specific way that they think will match their dating profile or their social media or like the stories that they heard. But in reality, it's just like, hey, that's actually just like a disconnect in the connection and the frequencies. And so when you just throw that all out the window and it's like, hey, let's just focus on having a really good time and we'll take the rest from here. And that's like what I like to bring.
Yeah, because it takes that whole pressure off of it. Because like you're saying, you're just being your true, authentic self. It's take
Mm-hmm.
me or leave me.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
So in that, I want to go back for a second in as to how that shift within that identity, as to, yes, you built what you've built, but how did your identity shift as you were continuing to build it?
Mm. Yeah, I think something that I got to work through is seeing myself as the individual that could manifest the level of abundance that I see possible for myself. Right? Like it's a long way from working as a tech salesperson, drinking every weekend, to a seven-figure business owner who has his own business and hosts events all over the country.
You're
It was a long jump from saying myself as a tech, like a kind of burnt out, drinking tech salesperson, to the individual that has a very large, successful, seven-figure business. And I'm not there yet, but I'm on my path to there. And so like having to reinvent myself, it didn't happen overnight. I didn't get beat up and the next morning I woke up and I'm just like,
exactly.
I'm an entrepreneur. No, there were lots of ego deaths that had to happen, of like, oh, this business doesn't work, let me try something else. Oh my god, is this even possible? I don't see it. Okay, no, keep going. Like I've luckily had a lot of success in my business in the last 6 months, and luckily for me, like I have people in my life who acknowledge that it just didn't happen. Right, I've been working at it for a long time, and I've like had to wrestle with conversations of, am I cut out for this? Like, do I need to just go back and get another job? And so it's like continuing just to move forward and attaching myself to my vision for why I want to start this business, why I think it's important, why I think hot takes, hot dates is going to change the way that people connect and date, and letting that be bigger than any fears or doubts that I have. And let me tell you, those fears and doubts are so big. They're so strong. And they sometimes get me, I pull up LinkedIn and I think I should just probably apply to a job, because that's going to be so much easier than the journey that I'm choosing right now. And so it constantly is, looking in the mirror and saying, I see where you're at. I see where I want to go. And now how do I close that gap? Like, who do I need to be in order to accomplish the thing that I want to accomplish? And like, it's fortunately and fortunately, it's a conversation that happens almost every day.
And that's, again, goes back to the self-awareness. The self-awareness and the self-trust, because what I'm getting here is your vision is bigger than your bullshit.
Totally. Yeah.
You're taking those steps. You're doing that work to get you to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you, as we know, coach on dating, and you also mentioned emotional intelligence. And we've touched on as to how dating is surface level. The way you show up in dating can be said as to being the way that you show up in life. And we've touched
Hmm.
on this: performing, hiding, playing small, or being real. So, what are people actually struggling with when they say they can't find connection? What's the deeper pattern you're seeing when, like I said, someone says they can't find the connection, or all the good men are taken, or, there's no wife material out there anymore?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that is, in my interpretation, it's a victim conversation, right? Like, oh, there's no good men in the city, or everyone in Austin is like this, or all the good women and men are taken, and that's just like, it's giving power to everything that's outside of you. And the truth is, like, you don't need all the men. You don't need all the women. You only need one. And so if you don't believe that there's one person that's all around, like, around you, well, then we're not operating in kind of a logical, like world. And so I think that's a big part of dating and connection, is just your mindset around that. It's like, if you think that there's no good men in the city that you live in, I guarantee you that's what you're going to generate. That's what you're not going to notice the good men that are there, because you've already made a decision. And so, you're not going to be able to meet somebody at the depth to create a relationship, like, unless you're willing to meet yourself there, right? Like, just the same way that I had to look in the mirror and say, what I want in my life is, a business and freedom and all these things. And what I'm experiencing is nowhere near that. That was a hard conversation that I had to have with myself. And I had to take really uncomfortable steps in order to, again, close that gap, right? To get to the version I was and the version I wanted to be. And the same thing has to happen, and it gets to happen in dating. And if you're not having success and connection and dating a certain type of individual, then you get to look at why that is, or how are you generating that? Like, what can you shift in your own life in order to create a different result? Is it the people that you hang out with? Is it how you spend your time? Is it maybe going to the bar and drinking less? Is it working out more? I don't know, right? But, like, if something's not working, you can continue to try and do the same thing and just hope it's going to change itself. Or you can have a real conversation with yourself and say, okay, I'm responsible for the results that I'm generating in my relationships. And the only person responsible for those results is me. And so, how can I shift my mindset, my attitude, even my physical appearance, my emotional intelligence, to create a new outcome?
Yeah, and for so many people, that's the hard pill to swallow.
Mm-hmm. Totally. It's uncomfortable.
It's totally uncomfortable, but, the only common denominator in every single relationship is yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So again, like, that's the hard pill to swallow, and it's that self-awareness, that self-trust, getting ugly honest with yourself.
Yeah, and I think we are addicted as a society with all of the conveniences that we have in our lives. Like, we're addicted to comfort. Like anything outside of what we're comfortable with feels like a massive, massive risk. Right. And so, acknowledging that you are the common denominator, acknowledging that you may have to you could be the reason why you're generating these relationships, and, like, having to take steps that are outside of what you're comfortable with, like, it feels really scary. And I'm not going to sit here and say that everyone has to go take risks in order to generate a relationship. But if someone really wants a relationship, and they have this vision for connection with someone and a romantic, bond with an individual, and they're not experiencing that, and they're really committed to it, well, then we can have a conversation and discuss what it's going to take for you to get there. But I think there's a lot of people who are starting to let going back to what we were saying earlier, letting their fears be bigger than their vision, right? They're letting their reasons not to be in relationship become bigger than the reasons why they want to be in relationship. That's why there's all this content around romanticizing being single, and, like, being single is like the new way to do things, and all this, like, content, because they're just deciding, oh, I'm actually just gonna, instead of get uncomfortable with dating, I'm actually just going to get more comfortable with being single. which is fine. And also, if everyone's single, then we'll have different, problems as a society, but that's neither here nor there.
Exactly. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, but it's a whole other conversation, yet it's something that we're already starting to see.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you said that the one thing you want people to walk away with is as to how your life is yours and yours alone. Live the one you want, no matter what people think. And this sounds so simple, but we both know in reality it's not. So, for the person listening who's been living for someone else, their kids, their partner, their parents, their boss, like whoever it might be, what's the first permission slip they need to give themselves? And what's the first scary truth they need to say out loud?
Yeah, I mean, the first permission slip is you have to give yourself permission to acknowledge the fact that the life that you're living might not be the one that you want, right? And that is a very scary realization,
That's
right?
an
And
out.
so that's a huge ouch. But there's nothing wrong with it too, because quite frankly, everything that had to happen in the past had to happen in order to bring you to this present moment where you get to make that decision, right?
Exactly.
Like what a blessing that is. There's no wrong in looking back and saying, "Oh, I wish I would have done things differently." Sure, 100%. We all would have wished we would have done things differently, no matter what occurred. But now, as in this present moment, you get to make a decision and say, "Hey, I want to make some changes," right? And the most important thing I think for a lot of people is that they don't know, or they pretend not to know what they want their life to look like, right? It's like if I said, "Hey, what was your dream?" They go, "Oh, I don't know. Like I want to be happy." It's like, okay, well, if I were to say I'm actually a genie and I give you one wish, like you're just gonna say to be happy. It's like, all right, I can make that happen, but also like there's a lot of other things you could have asked for in that one wish, and I would have made them true. And so
Yeah.
it's getting very clear on what you want your life to look like. So many people will say, "Oh, I don't want my life to look like this." Okay, great. Then I say, "What do you want your life to look like?" And they go, "I actually haven't thought about what I wanted it to look like. I just thought about all the reasons what I didn't want it to look like." It's like, okay, well, now that you know that you want to make a change, you get to decide and be clear in what you want to create. And that's like when going back to like what I want people to take away from this is like there's only you can decide what you want your life to look like. If someone would have told me 5 years ago I'd be hosting dating comedy shows in Austin, Texas, I'd probably think they were a crazy person. Like I don't like I wouldn't
Yeah.
even it wouldn't even compute to me what they're talking about, right? And also there might have been a part in the back of my head would think, wow, that would be actually really cool. And I'd really enjoy that. And I wish this person were telling the truth and they weren't crazy, because I think I'd actually really enjoy my life looking like
Hmm.
that. Right. And so like you can create anything that you want. And no, there's many people in my life who told me that being a dating coach and hosting dating events is like how could you possibly do that? Like that doesn't compute to people. And then the moment that it starts to work, they call you a genius. But for a long time, they're like, "Well, you're really gonna stop working at this tech company to be a dating coach?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because it's what I think. It's like my vision for the world is to help people connect and date." And so like, no one can create your vision for you, but you get to be very clear on what you want that vision to be, not just what you want that vision not to be.
Yeah, because that's what we tend to focus on is, well, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't
Mm-hmm.
want this. But when we focus on the things that we don't want, we actually end up creating more of them.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah, because that's all you're thinking about.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it goes back to what you were saying before as to changing the rooms that you're in, changing the people that you're around, and you'll start to notice your thoughts changing.
Totally. I mean, my parents were both teachers, right? And growing up, my whole life revolved around school. And I knew if I wanted to be a teacher, could tell you exactly how to be a teacher. That's how I was raised, that's what I knew, right? And so when I decided not to be a teacher, I was operating in very very new
Yeah.
new environments. I'm like, I don't even know this even existed. I didn't know people got paid money to do this thing. And so if you want to go do something, like go explore and put yourself in new environments, because that was what blew my mind. I started to meet entrepreneurs that made money doing the craziest things that's at the time. It just seems like, I'm like, you are an entrepreneur and your business does what? Like, that doesn't even make
Like,
sense to
I
me.
mean, the pool noodle. Like,
Exactly.
how
Exactly.
much crazier of an item can we think of?
Exactly. Yeah, and just like so many services that people provide. And so once you start to meet individuals who like challenge you or like challenge your belief structure, you start to expand. Like you start to see things in a new way, like new ideas, new opportunities will come your way because you're operating in a place that is different. Going back to dating, it's like if you do the same thing over and over again, like your worldview around dating is gonna be super small. Go to a different dating event that you've never been to, like Hot Takes, Hot Dates, and it's gonna be like something you've never experienced before, and now your world just becomes a little bit bigger. You're like, whoa, I didn't know this thing existed. Just like me, I didn't know people didn't drink on Friday nights, and when I found that out, like kind of mind blowing to me that I could just go and be sober on a Friday night and actually hang out with people that I wanted to hang out with.
Exactly. So, for someone who's not in the Austin area, who
Mhm.
can't attend a Hot Takes, Hot Dates, what's that one piece of dating advice that you would have for them?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. The one piece of dating advice, honestly, this I'm going to say date your friends. Date your
Okay.
friends. Yes, because I think that we spend a lot of times, and if you don't have friends, then go make friends and then go date them, right? Like go spend time with the people that you really enjoy being around, right? And in your communities, in your gyms, in your hobbies, whatever you do, like the people that you enjoy spending the most time with and you feel like they get you and your energies match, like those are the people that are meant to be in your life for a long time. And by not exploring if there's a romantic relationship available for you, you're kind of just shooting yourself in the foot, and you're kind of spitting in the face of like what the universe was setting up for you. It's like they're putting these people in your life for a reason, and to not explore that is kind of just allowing yourself to say, "Hey, I don't want to, like, I'm just going to put a cap on where this expansion could lead." If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? But like choosing not to date a friend because you're afraid that it might ruin the friendship.
That's where I was
Well,
going to go next.
yeah, well, get over it and have a conversation, be emotionally intelligent, right? Like figure out, and it just like my friends when I was drinking, it's like it's not ruining a friendship, but it's creating a different one. And if the friendship then turns into a friendship where you guys used to date for a little bit and it didn't work, then fine. And if your friendship didn't work because you dated, well then you weren't that close to begin with, right? And so it's like it's taking risks, like risks. If you want something in your life, it's going to take a risk, it's going to take discomfort. And I think dating your friends is a little bit risky, but I think it's well worth it because those are the people that you love unconditionally.
It makes complete sense, having been there myself and having destroyed some friendships. But like you said, it wasn't meant to be.
You may not be friends with them today if you didn't date
Exactly.
them. Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So here's what Joel just exposed. The thing you're most afraid to admit to yourself is usually the thing keeping you stuck. Joel was the charismatic guy, still is. The life of the party, the one with the stories, and underneath it all, he was suffocating. 15 years of the same patterns, the same priorities, the same performance, until the universe literally beat him into waking up. And maybe you've been beaten under a bridge. Maybe your rock bottom, looks different. Maybe it's a little quieter. Maybe it's this slower erosion instead of this violent head on collision. But the question is still the same. Are you living the life you want or the life you think you're supposed to have? Get honest with yourself with this question. You might not actually like the answer, and that's okay, because your answer is the wake up call. The answer is what's gonna have you Realize what needs to shift, what needs to change, where you need to let go, who you need to let go of. Because Joel's not just teaching people how to date. It's so much deeper than that. Because he's showing people how to show up real, how to take that mask off, not only in dating, but in life. In the mirror, looking at yourself and saying, who am I? And if you're tired of performing, now while you're starving for connection, do the work. Stop performing and start connecting. If this is resonating with you, here's what I want you to do. I want you to share it. And not because I'm looking for downloads here, but because someone in your life is living a life that's a big joke and they don't even realize it right now. Be that friend. Show them that love and share this with them. Tag them, send them the episode. Be the one who gives them the permission that they're searching for to stop laughing and to start living. And if you're in Austin and you want to see what authentic connection truly looks like in real time, Joel, what should they do?
Yeah, you can follow me at Joel_Monteleone on Instagram, or Hot Takes Hot Dates at Hot Takes Hot Dates on Instagram. I have shows once a month and can't wait to meet you.
Joel is building something real, and real is what we all need more of in our lives. And as we are starting the new year, what better way than to be real with yourself, to show up as your authentic self? We say, new year, new me. Well, let's do it. Let's show that new version of yourself by actually being the real version of yourself. I'm Michelle Burke. This is Hot Mess Magic.